Some of the highlights and lowlights and all that stuff. But basically, I was 35 years old when I found out about this thing called Asperger's syndrome, and I'm 39 now. And so basically, going through most of my life completely unaware of why some people were looking at me in strange ways and all that stuff. And basically, when after I went to CCBC and graduated from there, and then when I went to UMBC, I wanted to go there with an intention. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a performer. And the UMBC theater department, like I said, no one knew anything about Asperger's syndrome at that time. That was like 1994, 95, and basically, they saw me and they said, here's a guy who is antisocial and can't work with a group, so how in the world can he get up on the stage and perform? So I went to UMBC for 2 years before basically, it just basically dropped out and went through a bit of a dark period, 5 years of being lost and all that stuff. And so when I decided to transfer to Towson University because I had heard so many good things about Towson University's theater program. And the guy that was the head of the theater department at that time, we had a bit of a discussion, and he too was like, I just don't see how you're going to survive through through this acting program. I don't think it's right for you and all that stuff. But I kept saying, well, I don't know if I would like the chance to prove you wrong. And so we kind of had a bit of a heated back and forth discussion, so to say. And I also connected with a couple of theater teachers that were there. Peggy and Diane were two teachers I talked to, and I told them about how I wanted to be a performer and I wanted to be able to perform on stage. And what this head of the theater department did at the time was that he actually went through the trouble of, since he knew I was trying to register, he actually went through the trouble of blocking me from registering for any of the theater classes. And once I found out that he had blocked me from registering for any theater classes, I had another really heated discussion with him. And also Peggy and Diane kind of stepped in for me and tried to plead their case. And with some reluctance, he let me, what we agreed on was that I would take an acting class that was not intended for majors, but at least it would get me in the door. And if I did well enough, then they would consider me for, letting me take the acting track, or, letting me major as an actor. And so I went through that class, and I passed with flying colors. And then so they said, all right, Matt, we're going to give you a chance. We're going to let you get on the acting track next semester. And the very next semester, I also found out that the head of the theater department transferred to another university. So, interesting timing. I think I may have driven that. But anyway, so I graduated from Towson in 2010. Took a little longer than I would have liked, but I could only afford to go, part-time. I went without financial aid, and I went without. And I think Sue touched upon, I went on without disability services because I really, throughout most of my Towson career, if you want to call it, I didn't know about this disability. So obviously I didn't go through disability services. And after graduating from Towson, I just I went on. I got some professional, what happened before I graduated from Towson actually was that I did meet up with Sue, and we were trying to devise a lot of plans, and I eventually got some stand-up gigs at various spots, and I also found my own opportunities to perform. And the biggest thing was that I also went to Chicago in Second City. Second City is like the ultimate place to go for comedy. Most of the cast of Saturday Night Live started at Second City, and they had a scholarship program, for these summer classes. So I went ahead and applied, and got, not accepted just once, but actually 3 times. I've actually been to Chicago 3 times on a scholarship to take 3 different classes, well actually 4, but yeah, in both improv and writing.
Matt,
Yes?
I want to insert something here.
Yeah.
The first time he was in Chicago, he's one of the local people that he doesn't know. The first time he was in Chicago,
Yeah.
for the Second City training,
Matt didn't know anybody. Nobody knew anybody. Matt was the only one who went out and did stand-up the week that he was in Chicago. Where did you do stand-up?
A couple of places, Spot, and I think
The Spot.
Tavern or something like that.
So Matt is always working on this. And what amazes me is his courage
Yeah.
to walk into a place where he doesn't know anybody and perform.
Yes.
And once you're performing,
Yeah.
you've got the crowd.
Yes.
So,
Well, we're gonna get into that in a moment.
okay, so I'm gonna shut up and let you.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically, I'm going to Chicago and I'm taking classes at Second City during the, for the last 3 summers. And I also had developed my own comedy duo show. I don't know, are any of you familiar with the Image Center at Towson? The Image Center is another organization that helps people with disabilities, and just went there on Sue's recommendation to see what they were all about. And I met this lady and found out that she and I had some things in common in terms of desire to perform. So we put together a duo, and it was called Outside the Box, and we did that at a place called BASAC. And BASAC is an organization that also helps out people with disabilities. But what they do is that they get people with disabilities that have some sort of talent, dancing or whatever, dancing, singing, in my case, comedy, and ended up, well, first I did some stand-up for BASAC, and then that's how I ended up doing Outside the Box for BASAC. And then we were supposed to do a second show somewhere else, and so with my connections to Towson now, one of my other mentors is a guy named Tommy Casero. He is a professor at Towson University, and he was the guy that taught me everything I could ever know about comedy. And I still work with him to this day. And basically, what we were doing is that yes. Okay. All right. Basically, what was going on is that with Tommy was that eventually through Tommy I was able to get my what I'm doing now at the Hussman Center. He connected me with Rhonda Greenhaw, and Rhonda was able to get me what I'm doing now, which is my work at the Hussman Center. And what I'm going to do now is show you a little video of what we did last semester at the Hussman Center. So if we can cue up that video.